What skills, experience, or artifacts do you need to reach the next level in your career? And are you on the right path to achieve them? A simple practice to help you find out right after the intro. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. So recently I've been thinking about where I want to be orienting my career, and I stumbled upon a practice that I found very illuminating and I think would be useful for anyone regardless of your industry. I took a look at a few jobs that I would be aspiring to over the next 5 years. For me, they were architect, director of engineering, and CTO. So then for each of the jobs, I went to a job board, in this case AngelList, and found 10 to 20 openings matching that title. And I used those to build sort of a composite profile for that job. Basically, I would run through each of the openings and grab each of the requirements and add them to my running list, kind of filtering out duplicates along the way. For things that were basic or obvious, like is a go-getter and writes clean code, I wouldn't worry about those. And sometimes different jobs had a different perspective or angle on the same axis, so I didn't over-index on deduping. And then in the end, I had a pretty comprehensive profile for each of these titles. And I'll share those profiles for architect, director of engineering, and CTO in just a minute. So then as you go through each requirement, muster up the best of your self-awareness and be asking yourself, how difficult would it be for me to speak to this in an interview? So for now, putting aside, do I know this or can I do this, but can I demonstrate that I can do this in an interview? Because really that's what's going to either get you the job or not. Then pay special attention to your weak spots. What areas do you especially need to level up? Some things, especially particular technologies, it's easy enough to catch up over a weekend, right? Especially if you are building on a solid foundation, it's easy enough to learn a new programming language or a cloud platform. But some of these things, like have spent 2 years managing managers, that is not something you can kind of shore up in the last minute. So you want to be thinking about these things now to put yourself on the right path to gain that experience. Otherwise, you might find yourself in a dead end, and you don't want to be spending all your energy pushing your career towards a local maximum. You'll notice that none of the job openings just say, be really, really, really good at writing awesome code with no other requirements, right? So be aware of the law of diminishing returns. Being a world-class expert in one thing does not eliminate the need to also have these other skills and artifacts up to a certain level. For me personally, I noticed budgeting and hiring as two of the most glaring gaps in my resume, and I probably need to shore up my DevOps as well. So be keeping that in mind as we go through these profiles. Okay, without further ado, starting with architect, we've got communication, clear and persuasive written and oral communication skills. This is key. To lead or persuade fellow engineers and non-technical audiences, right? So not just to communicate what is going on, but to lead or persuade. That I think is a detail that is nice. A lot of the job descriptions were kind of vague, and so I tried to keep ones that were most specific and kind of gave better insights as to the level you need to be at or to demonstrate to get to some of these positions. So a lot of them, for example, probably had great communication skills with technical and non-technical, right? But I tried to pick out the most specific and highest level of each of these axes. So communication, to lead or persuade fellow engineers. I thought that was great. Improve the communication, collaboration, and alignment among teams. So not just for you to be able to communicate well, but to be building processes, practices, relationships so that the communication is great, even if you were maybe then removed from the equation, right? That speaks to building kind of the organizational systems, the engineering culture, etc. That one's all right. Culture. Ensure that we are continuously raising our standard of engineering excellence, grow our engineering culture to evangelize architecture, coder security reviews, innovative engineering, and knowledge sharing. Again, not just to be sharing knowledge, but to kind of set up the practices and culture of knowledge sharing. Champion good software engineering habits,
clean code principles, security, tech debt, etc. And apply pragmatic software design patterns to solve software engineering challenges. This one's kind of the most straightforward. Manage velocity of delivery without compromising quality of product releases. This one speaks to very interesting ability to, kind of balance the budgeting and the roadmap, short-term with long-term gains, etc. Knowledge of DevOps concepts, ability to articulate, advocate, and implement automation for CI/CD and associated configuration management, automated deployment and validation, advanced experience with testing methodology, comfortable with TDD, BDD, analyze and recommend feedback on product strategy, have a knack for good UX and design, and this is one that I probably struggle with, prioritizes problem solving and business ROI over writing cool code. If there's something on the shelf that kind of will solve the problem, be able to go with that instead of needing to build everything from the ground up with the latest and greatest tech. The ability to effectively plan, organize, and measure progress towards goals and objectives. The ability to balance long-term objectives with urgent short-term needs, maybe a little redundant. Be a multiplier to the team's technical and operational excellence, and help guide and influence our architectural and technical vision. You have a track record of designing and building large-scale, cloud-based, highly available software platforms. Breadth of technology and engineering skills, knowledge and experience, comfortable with topics spanning programming language, AI, ML, advanced networking, compute data platforms, automation, and big data. So just everything. Be able to do everything. Produce design and code that focuses on clean code principles, testability, maintainability, scalability. This one I put in because I specifically like the 3 aspects of awesome code that they included here, being testable, maintainable, and scalable. So that's something always to be keeping in mind as you are developing your own projects. Drive research, case studies, and prototypes on innovative technologies and how they can be used. This one I called the Tech Scout, kind of always keeping an eye open to new technologies that are rising and thinking of how they might be applied to the problems you are working on. Keep pace with the ever-changing world of JavaScript or whatever language you're working in, and make recommendations to keep our code base up to date with evolving best practices. Okay, that was it for the architect, and now we're moving on to the director of engineering. So it'd be interesting to pay attention to maybe the differences you see between the architect profile and the director of engineering profile. Identifying gaps in our existing architecture, drive alignment on how to address such gaps, and lead the delivery of high leverage solutions. I love the word leverage. Communicating technical decisions to the appropriate stakeholders, resolve blocking issues, and keep the engineering team operating smoothly. Interface with clients in some capacity, including but not limited to assisting in client meetings, helping manage client relationships, and creating project artifacts. Collaborating with other directors of engineering and creating new processes, implementing engineering methodologies, identifying best practices, brainstorming on fiscal year budgets. Here's that budgeting starting to come in, which is something that's definitely one of my gaps. Introduce scalable, repeatable processes that help engineering and product teams deliver a successful product. Again, not just deliver a product, but be developing the practices that help the teams deliver the product. Partner with other leads as we craft and evolve an agile learning organization while nurturing a healthy collaborative engineering culture in line with our values. Just a different phrasing of kind of those same ideas. Work closely with your team engineers, product owners, and stakeholders to enable sustainable and timely delivery of technical solutions to address business needs. Assisting with resource planning and management, including hiring and staffing of projects. Again, my gaps. Develop technical strategy to guide short and long-term plans, ability to operate in an agile environment, create actionable goals, and deliver on them in situations with limited information and resources. That part I think is great. Deliver in situations with limited information and resources, because really that's the challenge. If we knew everything and had all the resources, all of software engineering would be relatively straightforward. This is also where kind of business acumen starts to show up. Define, deliver, and continue to evolve a roadmap. Take responsibility for planning, execution, and success of complex technical projects. Facilitate a partnership between engineers, product managers, and architect to set the right goals and drive solutions across our platform. Again, so all this roadmap stuff, kind of different perspectives on this same kind of idea. Experience taking ideas from inception all the way to delivery and post-sale customer support. So now we're talking about not just doing a project or doing your part of a project, but having had that experience, the full life cycle of a product from inception when it's small, greenfield, launching to customers, getting feedback, etc. Experience scaling both hardware systems and software process pipelines. Lead a team of front-end, mobile, and back-end developers. So this talks to kind of like the scope and the breadth of expertise you need to be able to have. So maybe not necessarily the best front-end engineer or the best mobile engineer, but you need to have that breadth of experience to help all the engineers in the organization kind of work together with a cohesive vision. Take an active role in technical risk management for a variety of projects. Experience building and leading a team of 5 to 10 software and hardware engineers. This is one of those things you can't cram over a weekend, right? Providing technical and non-technical leadership and direction to 8 to 10 members of the engineering team, including career guidance, performance reviews. 5 years of experience leading and managing teams with at least 2 years managing managers, right? So all this is definitely my weak spot. It seemed rather consistent about the scale of the teams that you should have experience managing before moving to this level in your career. It could have been that some postings for director of engineering were like manage 2 people or manage 30 people, right? But this was rather consistent between all job openings, around 10 people reporting to you. Build, lead, and serve an effective team of engineering managers and engineers through hiring, coaching, mentoring, feedback, and hands-on career development. Challenge and grow your team members. You've got some stories to tell about mentorship, management, and your hand in the growth of engineering teams. So again, it's not just, hey, I think I could manage people, right? But are you able to demonstrate that? And that's going to be key. And finally, the CTO. Adaptable in a dynamic environment with ever-changing priorities. Really, that probably could have been said for any of the positions. Be the public face of your engineering team, whether in front of investors or clients. Hopefully this YouTube channel is helping give me the experience I would need for that. Able to translate and present complex technical concepts to non-technical business stakeholders. Building bridges and networking within the community. Develop the technical roadmap as well as define the relevant budget required. Again, this goes to my gap in budgeting currently. Ensure that all projects are executed effectively and on time. It's kind of up to you to figure out how to do that. Deploying and scaling cloud applications, working with AWS, API Gateway, Lambda S3, and other AWS services. This one probably could show up in the director and architect level as well, honestly. Build quality assurance and data protection processes. You have experience building products from the ground up and enjoy defining the working environment from a technology standpoint. Experience in a full product life cycle, including end-of-life or transitions. You're passionate about finding and optimizing product market fit. This one is a whopper. We are looking for someone who has founded, raised money, sold his company, and earned his reputation in the venture or PE world. Hopefully one day. Define engineering hiring plan and define the relevant budget required. Make recommendations for the best sequencing of new hires and plan resources wisely with plenty of lead time. Drive performance, efficiency, and effectiveness of engineering and product development team. Experience with leading and building a team from scratch, hiring, training, setting up operations, as well as managing offshore teams. Proven track record scaling and leading a team of at least 25 engineers. So here's kind of the difference in scale from the director of engineering level to a CTO. You've managed, mentored, and inspired a small team of engineers, providing architectural guidance, code reviews, etc. Set boundaries around technical decision making and provide clear guidance on what constitutes good enough. So this one I think is interesting. Always in software engineering, we're struggling between just getting the job done and writing the best, most elegant code that is, as we said before, testable, maintainable, scalable, right? And so being able to teach people and guide them how to make those choices, right? And when to lean on one side versus the other, I think is very critical. experience building digital products from early stage through maturity, scaling to millions of users. Make strategic recommendations and decisions on major product development choices, such as data, architecture, language, DevOps, etc. Directly leading architecture review for scale and stability. Make architecture decisions to ensure strong, stable, and scalable product. Again, same probably with architect. Then there's some of the technical scouting that probably is the same for the other levels as well. Finally, on vision and culture, a strong track record of delivering objectives at scale and empowering teams to make quality data-driven decisions, ship regularly, and experiment often. Translate the vision and mission of the company to the engineering team, implementing technology strategies, and ensuring that the technological resources are aligned with the company's business needs. All right, those are the profiles. Again, the point of all this is just to do yourself a favor and take the time to scout out the road ahead, right? So you have a clear understanding of what you actually need to advance forward in your career. So you can start now to orient yourself in the right direction. Now, if you have advice on how to advance in a software engineering career, do everyone a favor and leave a comment. I'm sure there's a lot that I can learn from you as we all move forward together. All right, that's enough for me. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.